Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Manila Standard on the Road. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, please stay with us as we will be having uh, motoring legend, car racer, former champion in car racing, especially sa rally nung pong mga panahon na yon. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have later on, okay, later on we will be having a racing legend. But for now, ang aking kasama si Milo, medyo nagkaroon lang po ng technicality. Yan. Milo Rivera, champion racer also, of course. Milo, tonight we will be having a racing legend as our guest. And yun, kaya nga po, yung mga ayaw maging kamote driver dyan, please stay with us. No?
We have a very, very interesting episode. Kumbaga parang follow-up siya from last week eh. Naging host natin, naging guest natin last week si Colonel Bonifacio Busita. And somehow this episode is an extension of how we want to make roads safer. Malalaman natin ano yung approach na yan after nating mag-rundown ng mga news. Kaya para hindi na mahuli ang lahat, Randy, take it away.
All right. Okay. Top of the news on the road. Number one, senators calling for repeal of PMVIS order. Okay. The Senate Public Services Committee on Tuesday had sought to repeal a Department of Transportation order and related issuance which privatizes the motor vehicle inspection system. The panel is led by Senator Grace Poe with Senators Bong Revilla, Panfilo Lacson, Manny Pacquiao, and Sherwin Gatchalian as vice chairpersons, said the private MVIS is extraordinarily flawed and its implementation must be halted at once. No? Talagang kailangan daw po munang ihinto. Under the Land Transportation Office Memorandum Circular, private inspection centers must collect 1,800 for motor vehicles, 4,500 kilograms or lighter. If a vehicle fails the inspection, it must undergo repairs and get retested for 900 pesos. Tumataginting na pagka nag-fail ka, 2,700. No? The senators allege that the PMVIS Authorization Committee disregarded legal and documentary requirements to accommodate certain private motor vehicle inspection centers. Nako, may pinaburan daw. Okay. President Rodrigo Duterte earlier stopped the implementation of the PMVIS, citing its financial impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the public. Kailangan pa makialam ni Presidente. Naku naman, oo. Private individuals, however, will still need to submit a certificate from emission centers of PMVICs to register their vehicles. Yan, Milo, nako. Ito, temporarily lang napahinto ni President Duterte temporarily. Pero gusto ng mga, ng mga senador, hinto na muna ito habang hindi pa uli nagkakaayos, no? Kasi baka mabulaga na naman tayo, temporarily hininto, unti-unti, without us knowing it, ayun dyan na ulit, no?
Ayun ako. Kung tutusin nga, di ba, nabulaga naman talaga tao eh. Kung ito lang binabayaran nila dati kada taon para magparehistro ng auto, ang laki ng binalun. Ngayon, ang tanong dyan, yung mga nagbayad na nung MVIS fee, yung nagparehistro nung January at saka February, ano na, di ba? Parang nalugi bigla sila at nawala, di ba? MVIS na implementation. Curious din actually ako, paano na yung mga nag-ooperate na mga MVIS ngayon? Yung investment na nilagay nila sa mga center na yan, di ba? Kung may makausap sana tayo one of these days to get their side of the story also. Kasi syempre, kung bilang operator, biglang mawawala yung implementation nun, makikinabang sana sila, biglang nawala. Ano kaya mga nararamdaman nila ngayon?
Ako, ang tanong, kawawa naman, paano nararamdaman ni Korean tsaka ni Indian? Kilala mo ba yun? Ha?
Hindi.
Ako kilala ko, papakilala ko sa'yo. Si Korean, yung meron ba Korean? At saka yung si Indian, magkanong atin dyan? Ayan. Kawawa. Anyway, joke lang po yun. Okay, number 2 news. Okay, New oil price hike. Eto, tataas na naman po ang gasolina at 125 per liter. The country's oil firms raised pump prices anew effective 6 o'clock kahapon po yan by as much as 1.25 peso, 1 peso and 25 cents per liter to reflect the movement of prices in the world oil market. The oil firms raised the price of diesel by 1 peso and 25 per liter, kerosene by 1 peso and 10 centavos, and gasoline by 75 centavos per liter, triggering the third consecutive weekly oil price hike for gasoline the month of February. According to the Department of Energy, world oil prices continued to comply due to the commitment of producers to hold back crude supply and positive signs of economic growth in the United States. Oil prices was also given a boost as coronavirus infection rates were seen easing in several countries, helped along by the rollout of vaccines and fueling positive demand sentiment. Nako, ayan na naman po. Asahan na po natin yan. Wala na pong pagbaba ang gasolina. Magtaas man yan, ay magbaba man yan, ay magtataas at magtataas po uli yan. Wag niyo na pong asahan magmimilagro na mababalik sa mga few years from now. Wala na po yun. So, Milo, ito, may mga kaibigan tayong mga nasa oil industry, talagang asahan na natin yan, ano?
Minsan, 1 piso nga, kalating 50 centavos nga lang na rollback, malaking bagay na yun kung tutusin. Pero, yun nga, budgets na naman para sa ating mga bumabiyahe, taas presyo na naman sa bilihin, lalo na sa gasolina at sa diesel. So yun, mukhang kailangan tipid-tipid ng konti sa pagmamaneho.
Yung Ferrari ko, dinidisplay ko na lang, Milo eh. Hindi ko na lang muna ginagamit. Mahirap.
Ako, bisikleta na lang ako. Stay at home na lang. Habang may COVID pa, stay at home pa.
Ako. Milo, yung bang guest natin, ready na sa... Kasi may konting technical problem po kami, mga kaibigan. Nawawala-wala po. Okay na ba? Naka-standby na ba? So that...
Naka-standby na daw, sabi ng ating producer na si Sir Peter.
Okay.
Ayun. So thank you so much, partner Randy, for that very, very comprehensive news roundup for this week. Babalik tayo. We will have a very, very short break. Pagbalik natin, pag-uusapan ngayon natin ang education behind the wheel. Paano nga ba natin mapapag-usapan yan at an approach that involves us, the drivers, or us behind the wheel. At siguro naman, napaka-perfect ng guest natin ngayon kasi hindi lang siya magaling magmaneho, di lang siya champion bilang isang driver, champion rin siya bilang isang coach. Makikilala natin siya after this very short break. Please stay tuned. Ayan. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Manila Standard on the Road. This is your host, yours truly, Milo Rivera, and joined by none other than Randy Kaluwag, who led us with our news roundup for this week. Now, we are at our main event for this evening. Ayun, as I mentioned a while ago, last week's episode involving Colonel Bonifacio Busita gave us a good overview of what's really important and essential when it comes to achieving safer roads. Yun nga. And part of what he said is education. So saktong-sakto tong episode na to kasi matuturuan tayo or mabibigyan tayo ng insights and wisdom by no less than a 10-time national rally champion. Diyos ko, 10-time. Ako, 5 lang ata ako pero di sa rally pero sa slalom. But aside from that, he is also a champion volleyball coach for the University of the Philippines. So, di na natin patatagalin pa. We welcome no other than Mr. Vip ISADA.
Good evening, Milo.
Coach. Good evening, Coach.
Good evening,
Kamusta
Randy.
na po?
Mabuti
Yeah.
naman. With
Ayan,
all the
Coach.
pandemic na nangyayari, we're still here.
Yes, that's very true, and I'm very happy. I'm personally very happy to talk to you again. It's been long since nagkita tayo, nag-usap tayo, at ayun, nandito tayo ulit.
Yep, almost a year na siguro yun. Matagal na.
More than a year na wata more than a year. But ayun, anyways, once again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Today's episode really focuses more on a holistic approach on safer driving. But siguro for the benefit of our viewers and our listeners today, siguro they would also want to know who you are. So my first question is, Coach, paano ba kayo nagsimula sa motorsports?
Actually, mahabang kwento yan. At saka sasabihin ko masaya. No, I was actually invited, okay? We were still in high school and I was invited by one of my friends, schoolmate, okay, to join rally. And since at that time I had a car, or I was already driving a car, so they were convincing me to join one. But I keep on saying no, I don't like, I cannot do that one, okay? And not only that, I cannot tell them that my dad's gonna kill me once he knows that I'm gonna go racing. So eventually, since I have no more alibi to go through, and I was forced to say yes. And the first run, the first rally, well, now everybody will know it. Actually, nagpaalam ako sa father ko or sa pamilya namin na I'm going to go to a wedding because we have to start early in the morning. So it was at 6 o'clock in the morning. I have to leave. Okay, I was all in Barong Tagalog and everything ready for a wedding. As soon as I get out of the gate, I change to maong and shirt and rubber shoes, and off I go. Now, since I was also a volleyball team, I usually bring the balls with me. And it was our practice day. So my friends now, or my volleyball teammates, went to the house and said that they're gonna need the balls. So my father was the one who opened the gate, and then he said, he asked them, "Oh, where did Vip go? We heard that he's going to a rally." And at that time, it was 1971, 1970 actually. So at that point, I mean, the rally against the government was very, very strong. Right? It was just right before martial law. So since my father was with the military, then I mean it was really a big problem for me when I got back home. Because he called all his friends and he thought that I was on a protest rally in Miranda and in Malacanang. So
Ibang klaseng rally
but anyway, that's how I got hooked to it. Then after that one, I really enjoyed the run, and I said, "Oh, this is something different. This is something that I should learn. This is something that I enjoy doing." So, in spite of the fact of all of those problems, I continued and really like it.
And
That's how I started.
And yung tinakas ng kotse, Coach, anong kotse po ba yun?
It was actually a Volkswagen Beetle 1200. It was
Wow.
our car that I have to drive my brothers, okay, going to school back and forth. And that was the only one. That's the only thing. That's why that car was there. So imagine getting all of those things, di ba? Malaking
Oh,
problema yun.
malaki-laki talaga.
Malaki yun. And I was actually punished, and I wasn't able to drive to the car for a year. I mean for a month.
Yeah.
So I ended up riding the bus again, the jeepney, walking to school and everything. And finally, after all the begging and everything, pumayag din siya uli.
Sa wakas. Yun nga, as people would say, the rest is history, coach. And that was a very very fruitful career that you had. 10 championships, as I mentioned a while ago, and we also saw nga yung slideshow a while ago, and then the pictures that were being displayed at the same time. What started with the Volkswagen Beetle, you eventually raced other cars, raced in and out of the country as well, as far as I remember. Um, Coach, my next question is, um, what drove you to even make a serious career out of it, to get better, aside from enjoying the experience, but also to be successful in racing?
Well, actually, uh, since I was also involved in other sports, it was more of a, how do I say it, an interrelation between the two. I was also with volleyball since I was in grade school, and I think that the discipline that I was getting from volleyball is also the same thing as what I'm doing in racing. So since I was looking at it that it was more of an enjoyment actually than anything else, and say that you don't get hurt. It's your If you lose, it's your mistake. If you win, it's not really your gain, but it's more of the enjoyment that you have there. Okay, you're not really looking for anything on the success side. It was more of a satisfaction for you. So that was the one that drove me to go more and more, because I was always saying to myself that, will I be as good as them? Will I be as fast as them? So how will I do it?
Hmm.
So from that time on, it's the same thing as what I was applying, correlating it with the volleyball, and I'll see if I could do the same thing. Now it so happened that pareho nangyari.
Yun nga
So
eh.
it was a nice experience.
It's as if, coach, whatever you got yourself into, you became very very successful at it. Aside from being a 10-time national rally champion, you were also able to lead the University of the Philippines to a volleyball crown. I think that was parang, if I'm not mistaken, was that the last time they won a championship?
Yeah, for the men's volleyball, yes, it is.
It
That
was.
was in 1979, 1980.
Huwag na natin alalahanin, coach.
Oh, puti na yung buhok eh.
And siguro, as I mentioned, you became very successful at it just because of your mindset, your approach of just seeing it as a good experience, as something that gives you satisfaction, and just by being grateful at the fact na nakakakarera kayo. And I think, I believe that a lot of the people or the generations today don't appreciate that, and they see na they have to achieve more all the time rather than staying grounded and being thankful na nakakakarera sila. So, which leads me siguro to my question, coach. Um, being eventually you stop your racing and focused on developing new talent. Um, how is it like that you are able to translate what you've learned, translate your experiences into a different platform wherein uh, you are able to convey that knowledge and experience to others?
Well, actually, it all started when I was still in. I'm a physical education teacher in UP. So uh, when right after graduation, I keep on I was taken in by UP to be an instructor, and I keep on saying to myself, what can I contribute, okay, to UP and to the Filipino people? Being a graduate of UP, then it is your obligation to actually, transfer your knowledge. So therefore, what I was trying to do was try to look for something that is easy. Okay, that it's easy to transfer the skill to the next person. It doesn't have to be so complicated, doesn't have to be explained so hard that it comes out that it's a very high standard already of interpretation or knowledge or whatever you call it, okay? So that the beginner will be able to understand right away. So this one now is the philosophy or the mindset that I took, okay, from the very start. Now, uh, since I was already convinced and I have already studied everything that I want to do, then it was a little bit, I would say, easier to transfer that knowledge. That's why I only keep on talking about the basic. The basic is the foundation. Grassroots is the foundation. So after that one, it will now depend on each individual on where he would like to go. But once you've got the foundation, then you are sure, okay, that there is success from that time on. Because it's easy to interpret, it's easy to adjust, and then it's easy to correct yourself. Because no teacher, no coach, no mentor will be there for you forever. So it is on the individual who has to correct himself. So he has also to learn that one. And with the mindset now of a of something that you'd like to improve, okay, then it will be easier. So that's how actually what I did. That's why it was easy for me to transfer, okay, those knowledge that I have gained and experiences that I've gained to the young people. It's I never went to a driving school. I never went to a racing school. I never had an, an an instructor or a teacher or whoever. All of this was from my own experience and the study that I made. That how do we go to this? How do we drive like this? How it's gonna be like this? Okay. Now, what I'm trying to say now, okay, is that if we want to be successful in what we're doing, then your how you process, okay, the reasons that you want to do or what you how you'd like to interpret it, okay, is the one that will make the difference. An example is, let's say, if I lose a race, okay, I don't say that I lose the race. I say that uh, there is something wrong that I have to improve. I'm not saying that the opponent is faster. I could be faster than him. I could be better than him. It is actually my fault that I am not as good as him. So a different mindset, I would say, a different approach. So for me, there's no winning. It's only a matter of saying that I'm satisfied with what I did because there will always be somebody who's better than you.
Parang coach.
So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Ayun.
Yeah. Coach B, parang ano,
medyo iba lang.
hmm, parang there's actually no losing. Always learning, no?
No, yeah, no losing, no winning. It's all learning.
It's
So,
all
like for example, diba? It's the saying always says that you learn from your mistakes.
learning.
So one problem is, will you accept your mistake? Do you
Mhm.
know it's your mistake? What we
Mhm.
usually do is when we race, okay, we lose, we blame the road, we blame the marshal, we blame the officials, we blame everything, we blame the car, we blame everybody, okay, but we never blame ourselves. But if we start looking at ourselves, did I really do good? Did I really do well? Then what will it be? Then therefore I have to improve. I have to do
Mhm.
this one. Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, mechanic will just do their best. The car can only be perform, but it is still the driver. Okay, the one who's competing is the one that will make the difference.
Naku, Milo, Coach Beef, before we proceed, batiin naman natin
Yep.
yung mga nanonood right now, no? Marisa Jonas, hello daw, good evening. Yan. Nes Santos, good evening, hello everybody from Las Piñas, si Nes Santos. Yan. Hello guys, watching from Bulacan, from Richard Ofilena. Hello, Richard. Watching from Cainta is Miss Linda Infante. Good evening daw po. Yan, from Marion Dose, nice ride, sabi niya. From Marlin Salak, very good daw. Okay sign. From Melvin Pingal, hi Coach Beat and Milo. Yan. Okay. Now, masyadong seryoso yung naging mga sagot ni at marami tayong natutunan. Ito naman, ilalighten up ko ng konti. Ito naman, Coach Beat, nung time ninyo, 70s yan eh. Sumisikat ka na, 70s going to 80s yan, tuloy-tuloy. At that time, wag naman ikakasama ni Mrs. Ano na to, pass na to. Nung time ba na yun, talagang ang mga car racers daw ba ay lapitin daw ng mga chicks?
Yun, hindi totoo yun. Sa kwento lang yun, tsaka sa sine.
Okay. To be serious about it. Hindi naman serious, hindi pa rin naman serious. Ano po yung mga beautiful experiences ninyo on and off the racetracks or the field na talagang that really made you enjoy racing? Ano mga
many. Actually, marami siya. Okay? And the truth is, everything is actually enjoyable for me. There was, of course, there are sad times, but more enjoyable. Talagang enjoy. Even with among friends, marami kami mga every time that we meet, even until now, okay? Pag nagkita-kita kami magkakasama, mga teammates ko noon, same yung kwento namin, same pa rin yung tawanan namin, same pa rin lahat. Kahit na paulit-ulit yung kwento, ganun na ganun pa rin. So that one is one of the most talagang lasting talaga. So kahit hindi na kami nagkita na ilang taon, hindi na kami nag-uusap, pag nagkita kami, tagkwentuhan uli, ganun na naman uli siya. Now, marami pa yan ng mga maliliit na mga bagay na mga nangyayari na masaya. Ang isang hindi ko makalimutan nung nagsisimula pa lang ako, ay meron kaming karera. Okay? Meron kaming rally papunta sa Caliraya. Caliraya, okay? Yung lake sa taas. The road before, going up, were all rough roads. Hindi pa simentado yan, hindi ganyan yan. So, nung umalis kami dito sa Maynila, ang kasama, yung team ko, okay, may mga kaibigan din kami, ang sabi, nag-usap kami, doon tayo magla-lunch pagdating na sa Caliraya. Ikaw magdala ng kanin, ikaw magdala ng ulam, ikaw ganito, potluck tayo, kain tayo ron. Now, kami, okay, the other car, yung competitor, was actually si June Espino. Okay? And si Rami Diaz. Probably you know him. Okay? So, hindi wala tumatakbo talaga sila. So, takbo rin kami. Kami, bagito eh. Sila mga experience na eh. Okay? So, akyat kami ng Caliraya, papunta ron. So, syempre, mabilis yung takbo, lahat na yun. Pagdating namin sa taas, kain na tayo. Sige. Kaya lang may problema tayong malaki. Ano yun? Yung kanin natin. Ano nangyari sa kanin? Natanggal yung kanin sa buong kaldero. Kaldero yung dala namin. Natanggal yung buo. Ang ikot-ikot sa truck. So therefore, madumi lahat ng labas. Wala kami ka. Ang ginawa namin, biniyak namin yung kanin at kinain yung loob. Yung sa labas, grasa, putik,
wala kasi
kailangan gagawa ng paraan eh.
Wala kasi kayong mabibilhan sa area no?
Wala eh.
Anong taon na yun
Meron
eh?
din
No?
kami.
Ano yan?
Wala na yun. Meron din kami ng isang ito mahabang rally. Galing dito sa Maynila papunta sa Davao. Okay, yung Gidol Rally. Yun was 7 days. So wala pang roro noon. Hindi pa kami nagro-roro. Ang noon ginagamit was yung landing craft ng Navy. So nung papunta na kami ngayon, ang pinaka grabe namin na experience sa landing craft na yun was actually galing na kami sa Samar, papunta kaming Maasin, papunta kaming Surigao. Ngayon, hindi makaland yung barge, yung LST. So kailangan pumunta kami sa nasipit na port. Hindi ngayon kami makaalis sa Maasin dahil nag-low tide. Nasa loob na kami lahat. Hindi makaalis yung landing craft. So therefore, since wala rin makalabas sa amin, isipin mo naman, isang buong 24 hours bago kami makalabas uli or something like that. Basta matagal. Dulas buong araw. Pero wala kang dalang pagkain, wala kang kahit na ano, wala talaga zero. Paano tayo mabubuhay dito? Walang namamangka papunta ron, wala kung ano. Hanggang yung Navy, yung mga personnel ng Navy, rasyon-rasyon na lang kakainin namin. O dilata, isa, 10 kayo. Yung mga ganyan na mga experiences, nakukuha lang namin yun doon. Ang ang logo nga parati nasa kotse namin eh. So actually, get lost in a rally and discover the Philippines.
Wow. Clever yun.
Yun yung logo.
Mga clever yun.
Ganda na experiences nila dati, Milo.
Totoo lang, di ko na nga naabutan yun. Wala na kasing rally ngayon eh. Maganda nga sana kung naranasan ko rin yun. Pero syempre, ayoko naman din masyadong matanda. Pakita mo naman yung book ni Coach. Ayoko pang ganun kaputi. Ayoko pa.
Tsaka maraming mga daan na hindi pa dinadaanan hindi pa dinadaanan noon, okay? Ang nangyari doon sa mga kalye na yan, naging highway na ngayon or naging kalye na ngayon ng barangay. Yung iba nga, para kunyari yung sa Pugo, yung sa Baguio, yung Rosario papunta sa Pugo, yung kalye na yan, hindi naman ganun ka yan eh. Talagang mountain lang yun, trail lang yan. So doon dumadaan kumakarera ko. Ngayon, wala na, di ba? Main road na talaga siya.
Yeah.
Maraming ganyan.
Coach Bip, I remember na-cover kita last time sa Carmona, Cavite, puro talahiban pa. Parang nighttime racing yun eh. Nighttime yun eh. Parang nighttime yun, di ba? Nagliliparan kayo sa mga hubs, tsaka sa parang I think nanalo ka pa nun eh. Meron kang, ewan ko sino yung yung navigator mo. Kasi Milo, ang kagandahan nun, nighttime yun na rally. Rally autocross na Shell yata yun eh. Or Camel.
Yan na yan. Si Robbie Hermoso, si Tito Robbie yata navigator niya yun. I think.
Yeah, pero during that time, yung mga takbo na yun, I had 4 navigators actually. During
palitan. Palitan.
Hindi na palitan, pati by time lang, di ba? Kasi magre-retire na or mag-iiba na, iba na naman sunod, di ba?
Okay.
Or natatakot na sa pagmamaneho ni Coach. Tumutulin, nagsusunod na raw eh. Kaya may iba naman.
Actually, may experience ako ganyan. Nangyari sa amin, actually, kasama ko siya since high school pa. So, magna-navigate ngayon siya. Nag-practice na kami, lahat na yon, everything. A week before, nung race, nung rally, may tumawag sa akin, sabi, yung navigator mo, nadadala sa heart center. Ha? Sabi ko, nangyari? Wala eh, ganun-ganon. Yung puso, tumaas yung blood pressure, lahat. Siyempre, problema ngayon dahil sigurado hindi siya makakasakay sa susunod na karera. So, yung mga kasama ko sa Dalos Rally Team, Ang ginawa nila, training nila yung wife ko without telling me. And she became my navigator. One rally lang kasi after that I don't like anymore. Hindi na ako komportable. Tsaka pinagalitan na ako eh.
Ano sa ka mas kabado? Coach Bip, kabado ka na mag-aksidente kayo o kabado ka na mapukpok yung ulo mo dahil mali yung ano mo?
Actually, walang problema yung ano dahil di naman kami kailangan manalo eh, di ba? Enjoy lang eh. Ang problema lang kasi, siyempre natatakot ako na magkamali kasi magdidepende yun, navigator ko eh. So pag sinabi sa akin kaliwa, kanan, ikaw lang kamali sa nagtawag, di aksidente kami pareho, di ba? So, and aside from that, yung ano na yon was February 14.
Valentine's.
Yung rally na yun, oh. I only knew na siya magna-navigate sa akin siguro mga 3 days or 2 days before the rally. Then he was being trained na by the team. Because alam nila na hindi rin ako papayag na siya magsasakay sa akin hanggat walang mangyayari. Walang makuha. So sabi nila, meron na kami. May sasakay sa'yo. Kung nalaman ko sunod, paano yan? Na-training na namin lahat. Ganyan. Alam nila kung anong gagawin. So,
pinagbigyan at Feb 14 eh. No choice eh. Para fulfilling naman.
at saka yun, first overall kami doon. Kami nanalo ng rally na yun.
Hindi mo kailangan nanalo pa. Di ba?
Kaya nga, yun na yung first and last. Nino na. Wala na.
Sabi siguro, Milo, sabi siguro ni Coach Bip, pressure.
Sabi siguro ni Tita, bilisan mo, may date pa tayo mamayang gabi eh. Ay, nakada. So,
ganda ng kwentuhan. Patingin muna natin ulit, guys. Si Glenn Adonis, miss ko na racing, sabi niya, oh. Tapos, Gilbert Emano III, Boss Bip Isada, and Milo Rivera, good evening. Yan, galing kay Gilbert Emano. Si Melvin Pingal, nabati ko na. Si Gab Pereira, sabi niya, Coach Bip, I remember correctly, may anak ka sa UP volleyball dati?
Yeah, meron, dalawa.
Oh, yun, dalawa, Gab.
Si Amanda at si Ivan.
Oo. Milo, konting-konti lang to kasi timely to timely. Konting-konti lang. Magse-segue lang akong konti sa volleyball kasi naman nasa volleyball si Coach Bip. What are your thoughts sa development recently sa volleyball na nag-unite lahat ng mga organizations to form a unified volleyball federation? What are your thoughts po?
Well, actually, it's good that there might be a new beginning, di ba? With all the problems and everything that they had. So maybe this one will start moving on. Okay? Well, it's part of paano mo sabihin? It's part of the new world, I would say. Di ba?
New world order.
Kasi wala naman ibang mangyayari. But we're just all hoping, since it's gonna be new, it's gonna be different. So hoping that everybody will join hands and improve. Matagal na rin ako doon. And we could already see also that there's a lot of changes na mangyayari. So crossing fingers that everything will be fine.
Ayun. Thank you very much. So Milo, Coach Vip again,
balik,
is yours.
And balik ulit tayo dun sa motorsports. Balik tayo sa steering wheel, hindi sa volleyball. Wala akong masyado alam sa volleyball eh.
Sige, go.
But anyway, Coach, you mentioned or you were able to tell us all those fascinating stories from before, and which and in each memory was able to piece together into success, even if di naman yun yung naging objective nyo. Tapos ayun, nag-coaching kayo, and then you mentioned also na it's all in the mindset of the driver, it's all in the perspective of the student in terms of how he or she wants to improve. Siguro we take a look at it from a different perspective, Coach. Sa mga nagmamaneho sa kalye, huwag muna tayo sa racetrack. Di ba kasi aminado, or aminin man natin o hindi, di ba, yung driving nila, sinisisi nila sa kotse, sinisisi nila sa ibang factor, sinisisi nila sa ibang super. Pero minsan hindi nila nakikita that it all starts with them, and sometimes, if not, oftentimes, yung kasalanan nasa kanila talaga. Bilang isang coach, bilang isang educator as well, how do you see it, and how siguro sana paano natin ma-improve yung mga mindset ng mga tao in taking more responsibility for what they do, especially on the road?
Actually, I've also made a lot of proposal about that one through the Automobile Association of the Philippines before, when I used to be the Assistant Executive Director. The way, in my own opinion, okay, the way I look at it, it should actually be the approach is actually to change, I would say, change the attitude, okay, the driving behavior. It's very, how would I say it? It's a very delicate topic because we're going to talk about behaviors, okay? And behaviors is only controlled by the human being. Wala nang iba, okay? Kahit anong lagay mo na penalty, kahit anong punishment, kahit anong lagay mo yun, everything, okay? The behavior side, okay, is still the one that will make the decision. Like for example, okay, let's say everybody knows that we should not go over than 60 kilometers per hour in our national road, okay, except on highways, on expressways which are closed, and you could run up to 100 kilometers per hour. When you go on a school zone, you run 20 kilometers per hour. Ang tanong ngayon, okay, everybody should know it since they have the license. So, i-miss na natin yung license side. But we have to know that one because that is what the law says. Ang tanong ngayon, sinusunod ba? Or let's say, for example, the no parking sign, di ba? No parking. Everybody can know, everybody knows that's no parking. But what will they say? 5 minutes lang naman ako rito eh. Pwede na mag-park muna. Yeah? 10 minutes na ako eh. Sandali lang. Antayin ko lang si Mrs. Antayin ko lang anak ko. Kukunin ko lang, di ba? But you're on a no parking zone. So therefore, what is it? Di ba? Parang no implementation can change that one. It's only the people itself. Now, the best way, hindi naman best, but one of the suggestions sana na inaan namin was that why not start, let's say, a new culture on the young people? Okay? Because they will be the movers. They will be the future. The old one, wala tayong magagawa dyan. They're just gonna be influencing the new ones. So therefore, ang ibig sabihin, even though if we teach them, okay, if we talk about only laws on following those things, then it is behavior. If we talk about, let's say, for example, driver's error, then there is learning na kailangan mangyari. But I'm sure, okay, there will be a lot of, I mean, it's too complex actually, that problem, because it's not only in traffic, not only in driving, it also happens in everything that we have in the world, di ba? So, mangyayari is that it's very hard to fix that one.
Yeah. You mentioned, Coach,
But we've got to try. But we have to try, di ba? We have to try. Like for example, now I think the government has already is talking already about having driver's education on K-12, which is good, di ba? Now, ang tanong ngayon dyan, di ba? When we're talking about traffic education, we don't only talk about drivers. We also talk about pedestrians and any other and all other, okay, road users. They should have the same education also. Because pag hindi, parang kunyari, yung ordinaryo nag-aantay lang ng bus, di ba?
Oo.
Wala, tagal eh, di ba? So mamaya 2 lane na yung nakukuha nila. Hindi na makadaan ngayon yung mga kotse. Di ba? Pag umuulan, lahat na nagmumotor, saan lahat na pupunta? Saan tumitigil? sa ilalim lahat ng overpass, di ba? Kasi yun lang ang silong eh. Hindi na rin gagalaw ngayon yung traffic. So, ano mangyayari, di ba? Like, for example, di ba? Let's say those motorcycles, they overtake on the right side. We always say, right side is always your safe side. Anybody who makes a mistake in driving, anybody, okay, the first reaction is always to go to the right. Nobody goes to the left. Always to the right, di ba? Now, I'm already in trouble. So where do I go? I go to the right because that's where the service road is. That's where the side road is or everything, di ba? I don't go to the left. So if ever that will happen, no driver will look at the right first and then go, di ba? If I'm already on the right side, because nobody overtakes on the right side. Now, yung motor, ano kayo nangyayari? Left, right, kung pwede lang siguro hanggang bubong, o-overtake sila eh. Di ba?
Totoo.
So therefore, chaos nangyayari. Di ba?
Yun nga.
So, medyo mahirap pag-usapan yan. Mahirap na ano yan. But it can only, if there is good education. It's the only way.
Yeah,
diba? Start from the young ones.
I think sakto, Randy, it was best to ask that question from an educator himself, di ba? Seeing his perspective on things, how maayos to. Kasi tulad nga ng sabi ni Coach, nagiging behavior siya. It becomes very, very wrong behavior. And people don't recognize it because it's already a behavior. Akala nila tama yung ginagawa nila, when in truth, mali pala. Minsan pagsabihan mo nga, ikaw pa pinagagalitan eh. Minsan ikaw pa yung walang alam. Yun nga, Coach, for you, you've been driving ever since. You continue to drive up until now. How frustrating does it get when you see these drivers or these pedestrians or these people occupying the road, and it's as if parang di nila alam yung ginagawa nila?
Well, it's really frustrating. So now you just have to make your own, ikaw lang magbantay para wag ka maaksidente. Okay? Even though how careful you'll be, but the other drivers are not, then you're gonna go into an accident. Okay, before, okay, during 70s and 80s, every time that you go in an intersection, okay, you always, okay, look left and right. Now, okay, ganun pa rin ginagawa ngayon. Ang problem lang is where is the car position. Before yung muso ng kotse, okay, the hood of the car, okay, reach the corner, okay, we already look left and right. So, nangyayari ngayon, ano nangyayari yan? Hindi, meron pa ng space eh. Pwede pa ako mag-forward. Yung lane na yan, pwede ko pang kainin yung one-fourth ng lane na yan, di ba? So, therefore, the car is already lampas na sa corner. So, therefore, ang dumadaan ngayon sa road na yan, mangyayari, babagal. Pag bumagal yun, may chain reaction. Okay? If you slow down, then it means that after 10, depende on the speed, di ba? After, usually, pag tumatakbo ka ng mga 60, 70, okay, mag-slow down yung sa front, okay? 60 tatakbo niya, bumagal siya ng 40, okay? This now will translate, okay, after 20 cars, magsa-stop yung car na yon. Kasi, pabagal na pabagal, so nag-chain reaction na, di ba? Na hindi naman iniisip ng driver yun eh. Iniisip na niya, sarili niya, kung ano eh, di ba?
Yun nga eh.
So therefore, lumalabas ngayon, lahat tayo, okay, dumarating kayo sa corner na yon, takutan na. Sinong matakot? Sinong talo ka, di ba?
Sindakan, di ba?
So, wala na, di ba? So, no more safety. Cat and dog na lang, di ba? And then pride na lang.
So, isa pa yung coach, yung mga rotonda, akala mo nakikipagpatintero ka actually sa ibang bansa there's a right way to approach and go about a roundabout. Pero dito, patintero unahan, kahit nasa gitna ng rotonda papasok. Unahan na lang.
Yeah.
Tindog eh.
Yeah, because the other thing there, okay, if you notice also, in our rotonda, there is no, the markings are wrong. I would say wrong because kulang. Okay,
True.
yun lang. If kung tama siya, then problema, wala naman susunod na Pilipino rin eh. Like for example, solid line, di ba? What does a solid line means? What does a broken line means? Di ba? Wala eh, walang ganun sa atin eh. Basta walang kotse, pwede yan, di ba? Walang tao doon, pwede yan. So therefore, it comes out now that we have our own interpretation. Sabi nga na iba, too much freedom, okay, gives you those kind of problems. The
Coach Pip,
problema is that, yeah,
always na naiinis, nakakainis. Ito, Milo, na ano mo siguro. May sinusundan ka, tapos nakasunod ka kasi, dire-diretso lang siya. Biglang liliko pala, may papasukan pa siya o lilikuan pala siya, doon pa lang magsisignal. No? So, may ka kasi biglang hinto. So, ikaw, maluwag na maluwag sa mga gilid nyo, ha? Nahinto ka kasi sinusundan mo, bibigla rin hinto kasi ano pala, kaliwa or kakanan. Ano pala dapat ang layo talaga anong layo talaga dapat nung bago ka mag-signal?
actually, there's a law. May rule yan, okay, kung gaano kalayo ka kailangan before you make your signal, okay? And you're talking usually about mga 10 meters, 15 meters away na kailangan na i-inform mo na yung nasa likod.
Sa likod, di ba? Hindi.
Oo. So,
Hindi na
pareho rin yan, di ba? Pareho din yan. Matagal na nireklamo yan. Let's say, for example, pag lumakas yung ulan, di ba? Pag lumakas yung ulan, sa expressway, ano nangyayari? Lahat sila naka-hazard, di ba?
Yan, nakakainis yan.
Di ba? So, hindi mo malaman kung kakaliwa sila, kakanan sila, nasiraan sila, o kung ano, tatabi ba sila? Okay? Kasi yung hazard na yun is once you see somebody who have a hazard, it means may emergency siya na tatabi siya. Hindi hazard na dahil tutulin siya. Di ba? Walang ganun. Mag-headlight ka para tumulin ka. Di ba? Pero yung hazard mo will show you that you're having an emergency, that you have to go on the side or you're gonna have to brake hard, you're gonna have to slow down. Di ba? Eh sa atin, mag-iilaw na ganun dahil probably the only time to use it, di ba? Baka masira eh.
Ang problema, Milo, Coach Pip, minsan makikita mo pa yung mga nag-hazard na mabilis doon sa mga part ng convoy na ang naglilid, mga HPG pa minsan or so hindi nila sinasaway yun. Di ba? So sila mismo ignorant of that rule, no? Na kailangan
actually,
dahil part ng convoy, naka-hazard sila pero mabilis.
Hindi nga kasi kailangan ganun, di ba? So, kailangan nga yun ng education talaga, di ba? Pag-aralan. Para noon, di ba? Noon, nag-lecture din ako sa mga ambulance drivers. Okay?
At yan.
Isang problema rin yan, di ba? Because well, actually, hindi na ako mag-ano dyan dahil alam naman natin, minsan ambulansya walang laman, di ba? Pero madaling-madali sa traffic, di ba? Sirena ng sirena. So therefore, people now, gets, yung nangyayari is that sirena now is already being disrespected. Di ba? You don't follow it anymore kasi wala naman yan eh. Gagawin mo lang kasi makikisama ka lang pero actually, naiinis ka. Now, if it's reality na ngayon, ano yung mangyayari? Okay? Now, the other thing then, okay? There is also a protocol kailangan on when to use the siren. Okay? Example, you don't use the siren when you're already near the hospital. Okay? Why? Because the people in the hospital, okay, for sure, when they hear a siren, there is an emergency, there is an accident, there was ganon. If somebody there has a trauma of that one, ano nangyari? Pinataas mo lang, pinalaki mo lang, di ba? So, hindi that help. Ang sabi mo lang kasi is that, hindi, na-emergency ako, kailangan ko dumating kaagad eh. O, di ba? Problema yon. So, mga ganun ba? Di ba? So, those things, pinag-aaralan yun. And before, we used to have handbooks dyan sa AAP, okay? That those were the one that we teach. So lahat ng mga ambulance driver, lahat ng hospitals, okay? Pupunta yan and then we teach them. Because they got to have discipline. Hindi naman pwede mangyari, di ba? May nangyayari ngayon. Ambulance ka nga, nagmamadali ka nga, ikaw pa yung aksidente. O di ilan na kayo na aksidente ngayon doon? Ikaw nga kailangan na makatulong eh. Okay? The other thing din sunod. Usually, you cannot mobilize anybody, okay? Or you cannot let them on the ambulance kapag mamamatay or if they're not in good condition. They have to be stabilized first before sila maisakay.
Ayun. So many things that we've learned today. I'm sure yung mga iba pang nanonood sa atin, yung mga sinasabi ni Coach, ngayon lang nalalaman eh. Ngayon lang narinig. And the list goes on and on nga, partner. Ang daming mga issues na kailangan talakayin, ang daming mga, problema na kailangan sanang iresolba. Kultura na siya eh. Parang, di ba, Coach? Parang siyang kultura. It's a culture.
One of the things that we keep on saying, di ba? I mean, you're also there, Bailo, di ba? That, ang sasabi nga namin sa development program, sa motorsports development program, one of those things na sasabi ko is that everybody, okay, or the dream of every driver is to become a champion driver. Okay? So when we say champion driver, he's the fastest, he's the basta the most aggressive, everything and all, but never think about safety, following rules, diba? Now, just to give a small ano lang is that in order to be a champion driver, you have to first exercise safety. Because how will you be a champion if you are keeping or having an accident, even on the racetrack? You have to cross the finish line first in order to win. But if you have an accident along the way, so ano mangyayari? Will you win? So the interpretation now of winning and racing and motorsports, okay, is all speed. Actually, it is not. Speed is just so happen that that's the measurement lang of the driver's ability. But the driver's, okay, mentality is not in the speed. It is on how to win, how to be safe. I mean, yun yung akin na ano dun. So, lahat ng driver na yan na nandiyan sa road, that's always their thinking. Lahat ng motorcycle, they're all thinking the same thing. So how do we break that one? Okay, that's why during this pandemic, we were actually thinking of putting up new modules on our development program, which would like to go around also the Philippines, which actually will hoping to bring back everybody to learn what is motorsports. That motorsports is not only about speed. There's a lot of things that motorsports can contribute. Okay? Just like how it is now. Everything that we have in the car in terms of safety, we're all from motorsports. So it's the same thing. Diba? Everybody thinks that because you're a racer, because you're like this, you're fast. You're fast, but actually you're afraid. Because you know, like for example, me, I mean, I can drive as fast as I can if I want to. But if I'm on the highway, on the road, drive 80, 100, okay? And nothing more. Why? Because we know, okay, if we get to an accident, it is very masakit, very problematic, everything, di ba? And it's not masaya. So why do we have to do that one? Di ba? Just to show, mga example ko niyan, di ba? How far should we be when we follow a car? Okay? Ang sasabi ng lahat is actually, if you're running this much, you have to be 2 car length, 3 car length. How do you measure 2 car, 3 cars? Diba? Hirap naman tansyahin nun. But if you know that you'll be 2 seconds away from one car, okay, and if it's raining, you're 3 seconds away, okay, there's a scientific explanation to that one, and then you'll actually know, okay, that you're that far. You have all the process and everything, the reaction time and everything that you will be able to stop. But if you're just following, let's say, for example, 2 car lengths, 3 car lengths, okay, and what now if you're heavy load? Iba na, diba? The load makes a lot of factor if we follow science.
Ayun. I was
So iba-iba
actually
na siya. Yeah.
I was actually, yun nga, I was supposed to ask you sana, being a race car driver, how do we, or how does the motorsports community able to enlighten the public in terms of promoting road safety? And I think you've answered it completely and very well just now. Siguro, we're running out of time, sadly, coach. Ang dami pa sana pwede pag-usapan eh. But yun, siguro to recap the whole show, you mentioned that it all starts from the driver. It becomes a culture that we have to fix. And based on a driver's mentality or an individual's mentality, um, he has to be able to recognize the responsibility. And through that,
Yes.
uh, then the proper education that's involved through a solid foundation. So siguro my last question for you, Coach. Um, I'm sure it's something you also teach or implement when we do the yung mga motorsport development program ng AEP, which you can also follow on Facebook pala for everybody who's watching and listening. But yun nga, coach, what is the best way to build a proper foundation? Or what is ano yung kailangan munang ituro? Ang dapat yung foundation nun when it comes to teaching safety driving or proper driving?
Actually, I would split it into two. Okay. The first is actually for a beginner, you have to start already teaching. Okay, what should be the mental setup? Okay, of that student driver. Okay. At the same time, you are correlating it to the skill that he is learning. Kasi nangyayari ngayon, how do I explain that one, okay? Ang nangyayari ngayon, everybody thinks that when they go to driving school, okay, they automatically learn only how to drive. Okay? I mean, start, go, left, right, stop, all of those things. Okay? Now, that only constitutes about 20%. How about the 80%? The 80% is your responsibility of how to be a driver. Your responsibility to share the road. Your responsibility to follow the rules. Your responsibility to check your car. Your responsibility to your passenger. To the pedestrian, to whoever. Diba? This is not there, okay, in the driving school. I mean, AAP before used to run a driving school. And this was one of the things that we want to incorporate before. We've already talked before with the agencies and with the Department of Education and everybody, but it just didn't, parang, how would I say it, it didn't push through. Okay? Pero, if we forget about the other side and we only think about this one now, okay? Like, for example, tayo, I'm sure everybody is it's the same boat, di ba? When we learn how to drive, then we just learn all the responsibilities as we go along. And then, tama ba yun? Mali ba yun? Ganito ba yan? Ganun ba yun? Di ba? So, what will happen now? So, the new ones now will start to learn, and they see now the bad habits of the old people, they will use the same thing. But if there's something new, then, no, this is a better road. This is a better way of learning or doing it. So, dalawang aspect siya. Hindi siya isa lang. Dalawa. Okay? It's not the skill. It is the mental. So, when you do the mental thing, you change also the behavior. And I hope that one will be incorporated in the driver's education.
Ayun. There, ano nga, I remember hearing someone saying there are two ways to learning. There are two ways of proper learning. One is through experience, and one is through proper education. Although both are effective, maybe learning from experience might be too late. Yun nga eh. So I hope na through proper education or the implementation of proper road safety education, we get to have safer roads once again around the Philippines and hopefully also around the world. So with that, thank you so much, Coach Vip, for joining us tonight. It's a pleasure to hear from you, to hear your insights and your wisdom when it comes to making sure that the responsibility of each driver is actually from within. Maraming salamat, Coach. At sana naman yung mga nakinig sa atin at mga nanood, ma-enlighten din from a great champion driver and also a great educator in VIP ISADA. So with that, thank you so much for watching our episode. Coach, may mga pasasalamatan po ba kayo?
Sa inyo lang ako papasalamat. That maraming salamat rin sa mga nanonood, and thanks also for the invite, and it's really a pleasure.
Ayan. Randy.
Yun lamang. Marami tayong natutunan kay Coach Vip at sana nga sa susunod ay ano pa, no? Let's have more of this, yung education. Siguro magkaroon tayo ng, actually maganda nga magkaroon tayo ng segment na parang yun nga, yung mga education for educational purposes sa mga drivers, no? Para may matutunan sila lagi sa show natin. But anyway, it's high time to, to really put that in motion again, kasi nga siguro kaya hindi natuloy yung educational program ni na Coach Bip cold reception or cold shoulder lang sila sa mga kausap ng nakita nila sa mga kausap. Hindi kasi pagkakaperahan ako. Anyway, thank you very much, Coach Steve. Thank you very much, Milo. Ikaw na, bahala mag-wrap up for tonight.
All right. So thank you again for watching tonight's episode of Manila Standard on the Road. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and just comment anything you want to ask our guests, whether the show is on live or once the episode is over. Again, whenever you watch Manila Standard, don't forget to also use the hashtag MS on the road. So with that, we thank you so much again for joining us. On behalf of my partner, Randy Kaluwag, and our guest, Mr. Vip ISADA, this is yours truly, Milo Rivera, saying good night, God bless, and see you soon.